like when I say feedback, I don't just mean critical feedback, I mean positive feedback as well. We're going to give each other positive feedback and feedback on how to improve or how to do things differently and challenge each other. So because of that, others feel it is okay. It is okay for them to also be getting similar feedback. So that's number one. The second thing is I like to, when anyone starts off a company, I do this thing called a like learnings call, where them and myself and whoever relevant people that they're going to be working with on an everyday basis jump on a call and talk about who we are, how we like to operate, how we like to give feedback, how we like to receive feedback. And so at a very early stage, you start incorporating this aspect that, hey, feedback is just a part of how we do things.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today we're going to talk about leadership alignment. When you think about alignment with your team, do you have the kind of alignment that you trust that they know how to make a decision when you're not in the room? Do you have the kind of alignment where you're going through a challenge, you know that they're going to rally for you, not against you? Do you have the kind of alignment where you know that your team knows what to do, what the priorities are, and can make decisions based on those things and not waiting for you to make the decision? Leadership alignment is something that every company probably wants more of. They probably have it to some degree, and sometimes there's a little bit more conflict than they want, but leadership alignment is the key. So today we're going to dive in with the co-founder of Moment, which is a mood boosting drink that is new on the market over the last 5 years. And it really is something I would encourage you to go check out wherever you buy drinks like that. But we're talking with Aisha Chottani. I probably messed up the last name, but I just really enjoyed her conversation about leadership with alignment. And she made a specific, before we talked about this, about no authority in that, where you don't have to have this authority and this fear-based leadership. We didn't dive deep into that, but I'll give you my 2 cents on it. If you feel like authority is the way you have to drive to get things done, then you are not going to have the long-term success. You might have short-term, but if authority is the go-to thing that you have in your tool bag, it doesn't work over time. So leadership with alignment is, a very different take on that. Today we'll unpack that. We talk about communication, we talk about empowerment, we talk about feedback, we talk about transparency, all those things today in this interview with Aisha. My name is Gene Hammett. I'm a CEO coach, founder coach. We do executive coaching. We do leadership development where managers become leaders across the company. And we do all of this in service of building a stronger foundation for the company to grow. All of our clients are growing, and they're growing because when they reach some plateau, it's usually a leadership issue. It's not a strategy issue. And so you want to make sure your leadership is evolving to that next level every time. Now, all those things said, we love what we're doing, what we do. And if you want to check out what we're doing next, you can get a free training at training.coreelevation.com. Inside there, we talk about how to stop being the bottleneck, empower your people, create the alignment you need for company growth. So just go to training.coreelevation.com. Now here's the interview with Aisha. Hi, Aisha. Aisha, right? Aisha.
Hi. Hi there.
How do you pronounce your name again? Aisha?
Aisha.
Aisha. I am so excited to have you on the podcast. We are going to dive in to our core topic today, which is leadership with alignment. But tell us about your brand that you've been working so tirelessly on, Moment.
So Moment is a mood-boosting functional beverage that's been crafted with adaptogens and botanicals to help people reset, find balance, and just build healthier rituals. It is an alternative to soda, caffeine, alcohol, something that supports both mind and body. Of course, we don't have any added sugar, no preservatives, so it fits into the definition of health as per today's consumer. Launched it about 5 years back and very excited to continue growing it. We actually, one of the biggest things about the business that gets me excited is how it impacts people and the world. And sometimes these emails we get from our consumers telling us how Moment is changing their lives.
I got to ask you, why drinks? Because it seems like a very crowded market. It's hard to get traction around everything. So being a small company deciding, oh, we're gonna fight with the big boys on drinks. Why did you choose that market?
Two reasons. One is the reason drinks is a huge market is because it's so core and fundamental to a human. You need to survive. You need to
Yeah.
have 8 or 10 glasses of a drink. So it is a very, very, very core need. And it is a very good way to help people access better ways to support mind and body. That's one reason. And two is it's fun and adventurous. You want to play in the big leagues. Otherwise, what are you even doing?
Love it. Aisha, let's dive into what I brought you here to do. Your company Moment has made the Inc. list, which is representative of revenue growth over the last 3 years. And I always ask a similar question to this, but like what leadership principles have driven your success? And you had told me lead with alignment. If you had to unpack what lead with alignment is, what would you say?
Yeah. So that's a big one. Lead with alignment includes so many things. But it's definitely one of my biggest one of the biggest principles of leadership. And I'll start off with one of the things that we were previously discussing around a lot of companies needing micromanaging. Um, a big aspect of lead with alignment is around alignment replacing micromanagement, especially when you start off and you're building a company from scratch. You have to be in the weeds of things as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as even like an early uh, founding member or teammate. You have to be in the weeds of things, and it's very difficult to let go and start handing over those control points, the decision areas. And the way to do it, one of the things that I like to do when the join moment is day one, tell them I hate micromanaging and I don't want to go there. Sometimes you have to, it's just the nature of things. But what you want to do is you want to empower people, you want to build that trust, and you want to also support them in their learning journey so that they're at a place where you feel comfortable, they feel comfortable to make those decisions so that you don't have to micromanage. And the beauty of this is that you create a lot of leverage for yourself as well. It's not just about not micromanaging, it's about having people who can actually be being really good at what they're doing. And that leaves you open to thinking about the next thing, about the next 6 months, next 12 months, and you connecting the dots across the business. I'm going to pause there. I have a lot to say on this front, but let me know if you have any thoughts or questions before I continue.
I want to go deeper with this because I think what a lot of people come to the podcast here to do is they get the big ideas, right? Let's lead with the light.
Yeah.
Like, what are the strategies and tactics and tools and frameworks that you use? And so I'm kind of curious if we looked at, like you said, the word empower. Every leader I know would love to take their empowerment skills up to the next notch. If we were looking over your shoulder or listening to the way you interact with your people, what would be some of the things that would stand out that represent empowerment?
So empowerment, I'll start off with some of the tools and tactics that I use even before we get to that aspect of empowerment. But one of the things that's been really helpful for us is we're actually also a remote team and our team is spread out everywhere. What's been really helpful is building a lot of structure and process. Even though we're a startup, even though we're changing, there are certain things that we do. You can have a lot of structure and process around, and once you build a structure and process, then you automatically create this system which people can run with. So you do need to lay the foundational blocks of things before you kind of hand over your baby. So that's one thing, and that can be small things such as how to even manage an Asana board, or how to like do project management, when to communicate, how to communicate, um, to larger things around how like different systems interact, or like how do we make decisions. Like, for example, we are very, very core on making decisions based on data. So one of the examples I'll give you is we are looking at adding a new product line and a new co-manufacturing plant, or a co-man co-production plant. As part of that, we have an operations associate, and I asked him to give me options of like all of the plants that we have in consideration. He didn't just give me like a list of like 5 plants. He gave me a Google sheet listed with 5 plants, end-to-end cost of each plant, pros, cons, trade-offs, why, and his suggestion on using number 1 or number 2, and what would be the backup option he would suggest. Now, having that system, or which is, hey, we make decisions based on data, knowing that being inculcated into every single thing on how we that we do, allows to make it super easy. Sure, he spent 2-3 hours doing that analysis, but then the decision making was 10 minutes. I look at it, I'm like, boom, I completely agree with you, or I don't agree. I agree with the analysis, but the end conclusion, maybe we go with option number B, because like I said, whereas your numbers are right, your analysis, there's this other factor that might be connecting across other work streams that you might not be aware of, and that's why. So there is that aspect. The second aspect is there's also a lot of, you need to have a very open communication and context building. People need to know the why behind things. It's not just about, hey, we're going to make decisions based on data. The question is, why do we make decisions based on data? Helping people understand why that is important, specifically for Moment. I mean, this is a very generic thing, making decisions based on data, but that translates into a lot of other things, right? Why are we focusing on optimization of our supply chain network on the East Coast versus the West Coast? Just telling somebody to optimize the East Coast, not good enough. You need to share the whys behind it. And then the last point around this is also this aspect of feedback. We're very, very, very open and direct with feedback, and sometimes it takes time adjusting to it. Not everyone comes to Moment knowing how to give and receive feedback. It is also this aspect of mindset change that you need to go through to learn that feedback is a gift, and this is in the interest of your growth and the growth of our brand. But people adjust to it after a few months with a lot of thoughtful communication, understanding. And then it's incredible because you see how quick people learn, and it becomes a part of the culture. So those are a few of the ways or nuances to mention. Like I said, I can go on, but I'm going to pause there. And if there's a certain direction you want to go in, I'm happy to take it that way.
If you want to empower your people, the best thing you can do is to gather together and write down the tools and the frameworks that allow for empowerment. If you can't write them down, how do you know how to use them? How do you know how to train on them? And so you want to make sure you have 2 or 3 or 4 tools that you can lean on, teach your people around this, and that will help you. You also, and Aisha said this, is you want to make sure that you create a solid foundation for which alignment is based on, that you know going into this, we're going to have some tough conversations or we're going to have feedback for you. And you've got to be able to take that. All that being said, you want to make sure you're thinking in advance. If you want better alignment and leadership alignment, you want to have tools and frameworks that you can lean on and teach your people and use them over time. Back to Aisha. Well, you mentioned feedback, and if anyone's listened to the podcast before, me and my wife Amanda have written a book called How to Have Tough Conversations, which is really about feedback. And you mentioned something there that I think a lot of people would say, but I don't know if they really get, which is it's a gift. It's an opportunity for improvement. It's not something to be avoided. It's not, I'm afraid to rock the boat. We hear all the phrases of why not now to give the feedback. But we also have probably experienced times when we didn't give the feedback soon enough and it came back to cost us a lot of money or we had to rework or whatever. So when it comes to feedback with employees that you're expecting them to not respond in the most supportive way, how do you address that and coach them through it as a leader?
Yeah. So when you make it a part of the culture, where everyone, this is just a part of how the company works, it becomes a lot easier. And how do you even make it a part of the culture, right? It has to start off with the leaders of the company. So for example, me and my co-founder, who is the CMO, if you give each other feedback in front of the entire company when needed, when he does something or I do something where feedback is needed. And feedback is not just like when I say feedback, I don't just mean critical feedback. I mean positive feedback as well. We're going to give each other positive feedback and feedback on how to improve or how to do things differently and challenge each other. So because of that, others feel it is okay. It is okay for them to also be getting similar feedback. So that's number one. The second thing is I like to when we start off, anyone starts off the company, I do this thing called a like learnings call, where them and myself and whoever relevant people that they're going to be working with on an everyday basis jump on a call and talk about who we are, how we like to operate, how we like to give feedback, how we like to receive feedback. And so at a very early stage, you start incorporating this aspect that, hey, feedback is just a part of how we do things. This is something that I took off the McKinsey playbook. So I'm cheating. It's not my practice, but I think it's a very good practice to get people aligned at an early stage. And then I also very critically practice this in the sense I have a feedback call once a month with pretty much everyone. With some folks that I'll have it once a quarter, but we do have a feedback call. Some people, it's even early days. We have a feedback call once a week so that they're getting feedback, but it's also not just me giving them feedback, it's them giving me feedback as well in terms of, because it's an adjustment, any new team member or hire, it's a little bit of adjustment. You both gotta fit to each other's needs, and it shouldn't always be that, hey, they have to completely fit to our needs or vice versa. So they also need to be given feedback, hey, like XYZ is not working, and you need to sort of refine things until you get to a point where it's smooth. So we do a lot of that in early days, and we continue it along the journey as people grow, as roles evolve, as the company grows. And so that's how it has become a very, very big part of how we do things, to the point that even other team members, for example, the other day, somebody in the sales team told me that they had a feedback call with somebody in the ops team. And I was like, oh, cool. But, and it was actually a feedback call where they were, the ops associate that I was mentioning has done a really good job of structuring the way they communicate and managing sort of our sales ops inventory flows. And so they actually had a feedback call where they're saying, hey, you've done a really good job of this, and this is how you've been communicating in the past like few months on our top priorities, and it's going really, really well. Can we just double down on this? So it was a very, very positive call, but the point of it was that it's not just restricted to, hey, your reporting manager that you work with on feedback. It's anyone. Once it becomes a part and parcel of how you do things, everyone gives each other feedback. And this aspect of also giving positive feedback is really, really critical, because people need to know what is going really well so that they can do things, they can do more of that as well. And that this is being appreciated along with that.
You've given us so much real value here. I want to drive into that real tactical aspect of leadership. We talk about leadership with alignment. What are the things that you use? I know a lot of people use meetings for alignment. They use accountability structures and whatnot. But looking into your company specifically and your culture, how would you say are the tactical elements of alignment?
So alignment is at a lot of different levels. It's at a level of your goals, your goals, what you're doing. Alignment is at a level of communication. Alignment is at a level of the company goals, and you need to think about each one of them slightly differently. One thing that one practice that I've come up with is, and this is nothing new, but I feel it took us a while because I always felt, hey, we're a startup and we don't need to worry about it. We just need to focus on like doing. But now we do have goals and KPIs for everyone in the company, and everyone presents their numbers at the end of the month. And these numbers, actually coming back to the point around empower, they are in control of these numbers. So we've made sure that these numbers are not just numbers that they have, the number, these are not just numbers just put for the sake of, but they're directly controlling it. So for example, coming to this point of, because we've been going through this thread of operations and production, the number over there is going to be cost per unit of production. This is directly controlled by the operations associate, and that is their KPIs. That's not their manager's KPI, that is their KPI. And like, he knows on a daily basis, if he's going to make decision X, the number is going to get affected at the end of the month. And if he makes decision Y, so it actually creates this alignment of how he should make decisions on a daily basis. And it actually also creates a lot of motivation and excitement, which has been very surprising and awesome to see that people are excited and they want to control their like numbers. And it's almost like you kind of like gamify the system. So that's worked really, really well. The second thing is we have a very open communication system, which is everyone has access to pretty much everything. Everyone has access to my KPIs, the company KPIs. Everyone knows what is happening across like different parts of the team. We actually have like a full like company-wide. And when I say company-wide, we actually only have 10 full-times right now, but still. We have a company-wide huddle once a week where everyone openly shares, asks questions, ensures like, hey, what is happening for the next 3 months, 6 months in marketing operations? How do we do XYZ? We give shout outs to people on our main like Slack channel, so everyone knows what is happening. But it's a lot about like visibility across different pods, so everyone knows everything. So there's like more alignment that way. And then I would say that the last aspect is sort of like these more tactical rituals or habits that reinforce some of these connections. So we have a functional all hands meetings 2 or 3 times a week. And it will be a lot about, hey, these are the priorities for this week, this month. Are we clear? What is what is your priority? Do you want to deprioritize things? It's not just about like adding more things to the plate. And this happens at like different levels. Again, this happens between me and my CMO, me and the CFO, me and the operations team, me and the marketing team. So yeah, everyone is constantly aligned.
Aisha, thank you for being here. I'm going to wrap us up, just, kind of reframing what I heard. Leadership with alignment, like any other company, is going to be, you're going to get a lot more done. It's a lot more fun when you're aligned together. When you're not aligned, it gets tough. It's stressful. And so you want to make sure you build that foundation that she's been talking about here. It's not just empowering people, but it's building communication, and it's setting up that foundation early and often. If you do this, you'll have a much stronger company in leadership. So I share this with you. I'm proud to partner with Aisha and Moment to share their message. Not that they paid to be here, but just I'd love to recognize their wisdom and authority. So thanks for tuning in to Growth Think Tank. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.